Welcome, welcome, welcome to our second episode of Candidate in Focus. I am your Orange County Commissioner for District 3 current right now, Mayra Uribe. I do have my sidekick, Dr. Phil and Kevin Sutton, every once in a while, but we're going to try to keep them off the set. But it's so exciting today because what we're going to do today is actually talk to another candidate from District 3. But we're also going to be talking about the state. Yes, of course, the state of Tallahassee. We've got our state house legislative candidate from 43 present. So instead of listening to me a lot and let you guys hear what's going on, of course, because we are live, yes, live, make sure you send a comment. If you have a question, we're going to be asking everyone in the hot seat today. So we're tuned in. But let me get started with first, our candidate for Orange County Commission District 3. So far, there are 6 people running. We've had 2 on our show last week. And today we have Mr. Walker Smith IV joining us. Welcome, Walker. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing wonderful, Mayra, and I appreciate you giving this opportunity and this spot for all the candidates to come and show how we can help support the community in District 3 and continue your legacy.
Absolutely. And one thing that's really important is I was just elected for my 3rd term, technically, in 2024. And many people thought, okay, she's there for 4 years, but it's no big secret now. It's probably the worst secret in Orlando. I'm running for Orange County Mayor. What does that mean? It means I will be resigning to run in June. And that means you will be electing a new District 3 County Commissioner. So we're going to get to know Walker a little bit. And I want all of you that are listening, watching, whether you're watching live or you watch after, be able to get an educated decision on who you want to support, which way you're leaning, or if you want to follow up and know more about this candidate. But I'm also excited to introduce former DEC, Democratic Executive Committee Chair, longtime activist, Ivy League graduate, and his own Colonial High School graduate, Mr. Samuel Vilchez Santiago. He is candidate for State House District 43, and it is exciting to have him here with us. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Are you excited?
Super excited to get to talk about the issues that are impacting people, but also about who I am and why I'm running for this seat. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Right. And we're going to get going because something he said, we're going to talk about issues. We are. But I always really believe, and I think you all that are listening, is you want to know who that person is who's running for office. What inspired them to run? What do they like to do for fun? What do they like to do on their spare time? And, at the end of the segment, like we did last week, we're going to put them in the hot seat where they have to pick from 2 very selective. And I'll give you an example, real Coke or Diet Coke. But it's not going to be that easy for this, guys. No. But let's go ahead and start with Mr. Walker Smith IV. Walker, tell us a little bit about who you are. And as you're explaining who you are, what do you do for fun, Walker? Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I was raised by a single father down in South Florida, and he really instilled in me a sort of work ethic. And so I am only recently learning to go out and have a little bit of fun. Everything's been sort of go. I opened up my own law firm right out of law school, maybe a year or 2 after I left. And when I had that running for about a year and a half before I was offered to come in and merge with another law firm and help somebody retire and take over those cases. So I do civil rights law. I do workers' compensation and injury law. But I don't know. I've always been community focused. And ever since this past election, I felt a need to get out and get more active and engaged in my community. So I've been working with a number of immigrant rights organizations to help hold certain federal agencies accountable for filling up our local jails. And in my small free time, like every Wednesday, for example, I like to go rock climbing. I go bouldering, which is the one without the ropes, which, with my size is a little different. That fall down, I hit a little different on my back now that I'm above 30. But yeah, that's what I like to do.
Walker, I appreciate that. So obviously something was instilled in you very young, and you kind of wanted to represent people and fight for people. But what was that thing in you that said, I want to be a county commissioner and now's my time?
Well, so I'm Native, and I come from a Native background, and that sort of instilled in me this need to get us back to a balance in our environment and in our community. So my mom is of the Lenni Lenape indigenous tribe, and I feel that we've sort of lacked a cohesive community engagement around our protecting our environment and balancing, the people that we don't always agree with, and sort of being able to come together in the same room and have a civil conversation. I feel like that started to slip away. But the thing that really pushed me to get out there was there was a tipping point when Orange County, the school board, came out and said that they were going to allow ICE to go into the schools. And that was the first time I ever went out and spoke at a board meeting or ever did anything really politically active. I couldn't bear the thought of an armed person with a gun coming into a school, talking to kids, and them not going to talk to the parents. I grew up in a predominantly black community, and a community where I witnessed police overzealous use of force against people who were my friends and their families, and I never really understood that duality of why do some people get treated a certain way and others have a little bit more comfort. And I was scared and nervous to see that coming into our own community, and so I wanted to voice my opinion. And I found out there wasn't really a plan. There wasn't any checking of the warrants to make sure they were valid. They were just going to let them in, and so that was what stirred me to run.
Okay, and we're going to get back to you a little bit later. We're going to get to talk to Samuel a little bit. We're going to want to know, you're out there canvassing, and we want to hear what are the issues you're hearing. Because I'll tell you some of the, I think we'll all have a great conversation, because Samuel has been very aggressively, canvassing. I have been out with neighbors, and I think we're all going to kind of find some common issues, and that's going to drive our conversation today. But I'm excited now to bring Mr. Samuel Vilchez Santiago into the conversation. He's not running for county. He's running for state house. And I want to preface that. It is an interesting time in Tallahassee, but it's also a time to remember to keep pushing and having a voice. And but I know him a lot, and so I don't want to give away too much because I want him to give his story. Samuel, welcome to the show, Candidate in Focus, and tell us who you are.
Absolutely. So I actually was born in Venezuela. I came here when I was 13 years old. I moved to Azalea Park, and I went to Colonial High School. When I was in high school, I actually came here without knowing any English. In high school, both of my parents were actually working minimum wage job. My mom worked at McDonald's. My dad worked cleaning cars at the airport. Everything I could think about was, oh my God, they sacrificed their whole career for me and my sister to have a better future. So I actually got involved in my high school, did a lot of community service, and also focused academically. So I graduated valedictorian at Colonial, then went to Princeton, Oxford, came back, and I've been working in the community for about 10 years.
Hold on. Let's go back, okay? Okay, guys. I've already shared, I'm an Oak Ridge High School pioneer. Walker doesn't know anything about these local high school things, but you're talking about a Colonial High School grenadier. Yes, he was valedictorian. Let that sink in, valedictorian, who went on to Princeton and then Oxford and brought that scholastic education back here towards his community. I mean, and this is a huge thing, Samuel. I mean, he just kind of went through, I went to Princeton, Oxford. And no. Those kind of things, you don't just kind of go through them. You have to really emphasize. But what you don't realize is Samuel not only did these things in Colonial High School, but he's kind of created a little bit of a legacy where a lot of students, even to this day, and you've been out since what, 6 years? 7 years?
I've been out now 11 years.
11 years out of high school, and people still talk about Samuel. We were at Colonial High School last week giving out food for spring break. And so you can continue, but I thought it was important that we highlight that, okay?
No, absolutely. So at Colonial, I think Colonial is so critical to who I am, because that's where I saw how giving this community is and how welcoming this community is.
Right.
My teachers, the guidance counselors, the school staff, the cafeteria staff, everyone was making sure that I had everything I needed in order to get ahead, in order to apply to scholarships, apply to college. And quite honestly, that's part of the reason why I'm actually running for office, because this community gave me a shot, and this community deserves the very best.
Yeah, and I understand that. I tell people, obviously, I'm born and raised in District 3, went to Oak Ridge High School, and I still live in District 3, except now I'm a mom married with 2 kids, and I never felt like abandoning my community. And I've talked about this candidly, is that a lot of times when we view success as leaving where you grew up. but it should be the opposite, staying there and bringing the community up with you. And I think that what was you, like we have a story. We both ran for office first time when we were novices, and we did not make it.
Right.
But then we ran again. I was successful, and now you're hoping to be successful
That's
too.
right.
Tell us what made you say it's time.
I think in this moment, we've seen a lot of polarization over the last few years. And after the election in 2024, I really came at a point where I was like, is this where I want to raise my kids? And quite honestly, at that point, I thought the answer was no, because there's been so many culture wars and so many attacks coming out of Tallahassee and the legislature and the legislative process against so many different communities. And at that point, I was like, well, if I don't want to raise my kids here, then maybe I should go somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And then I started thinking, and I'm like, no, because that's giving up on our community.
Right.
And so I decided, well, if I'm going to stay here, we're going to go in there and we're going to fight to make sure that we're focusing on addressing the real needs that people have, not the culture wars that some politicians like to manufacture.
Right. As I call it, noise, distractions, right? Because there is a lot of noise going on in our world now. And I'm with you. There are points, I am a mother, where I looked at it and said, I'm supposed to make it better for my kids. Am I making it better by staying and not doing something and going to the call, which has brought me to where I am now? And many people don't know this. And if you're listening, so we always hear this number that 1,000 people are moving to Orange County every week. That is true. But have you ever asked that second question, who is moving here? Because we are losing at a record rate 25 to 35-year-olds. They're actually leaving Orange County. And we love our silver community and our retirement community. Right. You know, you're all economic boosters for us. But what it means is we have an incredible university called UCF here. We are educating. We have medical. We have law schools. We are doing space now. So we're good enough to teach and prepare a young person. And they're taking that talent to another major city in this country. And I'm with you. I want them to bring their talent and keep it here. And mine's a little selfish. I want my daughter to feel that this community has something to offer her. And I want your kids and our grandkids and all of that. And I think that's what inspires all of us. I mean, you're talking about a roundtable today of under 40. You guys are young guys. You could go anywhere. You have no ties here besides our family, you know. And those are big ties, but there's called planes. But it's investing back in here because we know how great this town can be. And we want it to be affordable. We want it to be the ability to grow and prosper. But people always say, well, what's important about 25 to 35-year-olds, right? They're going to buy a house. They're going to get married. They're going to have kids. And guess what? They're going to buy a lot of things as they work. And they're going to pay taxes, which help run government. But now we're going to pivot to some of the issues going on. I would like each of you, and I'm going to hold mine back, okay? But I would like to hear from you all, and I'm going to start with Samuel, and then Walker, I'll go to you. You've been knocking doors, right? Tell me what you're hearing are some of the issues that have people very concerned in our community.
I would say there's 3 issues that often come up when we're talking to people at the doors. The first one is affordability. There's a huge affordability crisis in our community. Some of it, obviously, it has been created by the war we see happening in Iran. Something that's come up in the last 3 days is that people now have to choose basically when they take the car, when they go out, when they go visit family because they cannot afford gas. Obviously, they've also mentioned healthcare. They've also mentioned housing. But I would say this past week, especially gas prices going up has been a huge issue. A second issue, especially in our district, is the schools closing. We've had 3 schools closing in House District 43. So some of the parents are really concerned about what that means for their children and where they have to go seek school. So they want to see more investments into public schools. And then the third issue, I would say, there's a lot of fear related to the immigration raids that have been happening in our community that's obviously being led by the federal government. And what people want to see is this broken system actually be fixed so that people can actually, follow the process, follow the law, and be able to successfully determine whether they get to stay here or they go home.
Right, right. Walker, tell us what you're hearing. I mean, both of you guys just wrapped up canvassing today.
Yep.
So to be with us, tell us what you're hearing at the doors.
Well, I would actually echo what Samuel has heard. We've heard the top issues are affordability and access to services, with that third issue being the sort of commandeering of our local establishment to be complicit in this immigration sort of raid policy that the federal government is having. We've talked to some people who they don't even know that Lake Nona is now being targeted for this warehouse. And as soon as you tell them about it, they want to see the county and the city do something to block it, particularly when it comes to permitting. At our campaign, we think that is the first issue, because until and unless we control our priorities and our agenda, we can't get to those core issues of affordability and access to services. But when we've been out on doors for access to services, people want to see more access to mental health services. That's something we've heard over and over again, is that once their child turns 18, there's nothing for adults. And there are some services out there, and there are great people doing great work, but there's just simply not enough. Particularly transportation services as well. We have some good infrastructure going, but I've heard so many people say they want a direct line of transit from the airport down to downtown links to reduce that traffic around the airport area where people sort of wait on the curb, and to encourage the use of our public transit.
So I'm going to throw you a curveball. Are they willing to pay for it?
Well, Sunrail's already there.
No, but I mean, it's $4 billion to connect Meadowwoods to the airport.
That's true.
Are they willing to pay for it?
You know, I think it depends how you sell it. If you sell it as the convenience that it really is, and if you give people the honest and straightforward truth about what we need in order to get there, as long as they make the call, I think they might be. But we have to be upfront with what the costs are, and we have to let them know, without paying these extra costs, you'll never have this service.
Right. Well, we'll get into that, because we are currently having a PD&E study on the actual cost that it's going to be.
Right.
But there was a comment that you brought up right now that actually has to do more with state issues.
Right.
And that was, it was mental health.
Mental health, yeah.
Mental health over the age of 18. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, in this state, in this country, for some reason, they think when you're 18, they're done.
Right.
But not only mental health, services for folks that are disabled.
Physical disabilities.
You know, fostering out, right? You know, you might get a little gap where you get to stay for a couple more years. But how are you at 18? And I don't know about you guys, but at 18, if I'm living at home and they say, you know what, you're 18, see ya.
Yeah.
And it's not like your parents sent you off. It's a foster family or somewhere, a foster home that you're at, that you don't have anybody to look out for you. So have you heard this issue of folks, once they're 18, how the state and government just isn't there?
I've definitely heard it from a lot of young people in our district, and that they feel that there's no safety net for them to fall on. And it's not only related to obviously mental health, but just general health access. Yeah. After they turn 26, they can no longer be in their parents' health insurance. And a lot of our young people go uninsured, underinsured. The state continues to refuse to expand Medicaid. So that has been an issue that has come up. You see it when it comes to education, right? Like, a lot of people don't know that, you know, that they can actually maybe go to Valencia and then go to UCF. They don't think that there's many options for them to continue their education here, not only in the formal sense, but even, you know, the building trades. That's often something that people don't think about, but it's a great opportunity for some folks to get ahead. They could become firefighters, they could become police, but they just don't think that those opportunities are made available to them when they're making that decision to actually decide what to do with their lives.
And tell me, Samuel, I've been a big advocate of this, is I think by the time you're a senior, you're kind of desperate. One, you either already have a job because you're helping either your family, or you need to kind of cover your own costs. But I think we should start identifying students in 9th grade, you know, because the stigma that everyone has to go to college is not the reality.
That's right.
Okay. And I'm glad to see us kind of changing socially how we see that, because, you know, electricians, plumbers,
trade schools,
AC guys, these guys make 6 figures easily. And another one that I want to put in your head are service technicians for vehicles. Mm-hmm. Where I purchased my car, and I know the owner of this dealership, there isn't a service technician that works for him that makes less than $100,000 a year. Yeah. Okay. And they'll train you, and they'll give you the job, and you need them. Many people don't know this. They think when you sell a car, that's where you make your money. Actually, you don't. You make your money on servicing your car, So that's some great information. So I will say everything you guys brought up is what I'm hearing. Number one is affordability.
Right.
We have an affordability crisis, and gas prices are just ruining it. And homelessness. Homelessness does not look like what we've always thought homelessness looks like. Someone who just doesn't have a job or doesn't want a job or has mental health issues or has addiction issues. No, actually, homelessness now looks like a firefighter, a teacher, an educated person who can't make it. And for me, one of the hardest things, and I will tell you right now, in Orange County, I know firefighters who can't afford to live somewhere. I'm going to give you some really bad statistics. 64% of our Orange County deputies cannot afford to live in Orange County.
Yep.
So they can patrol the county, but they can't afford to live here. Firefighters more like 70%. Okay. So there are firefighters who will pick up shifts just so they could sleep at the fire station, because if you're not working, you cannot sleep on the premises. So these are careers, folks. I had a case where I had a teacher who went through a crisis, got behind on her rent for 2 months, and was on the verge of being homeless with a master's degree. Yep. Okay. Luckily, there were services at the county that were able to fill that gap, but she would have essentially been homeless. Okay. No one thinks about homelessness being the firefighter that comes when you call 911 or your children's teacher at school. And that's the reality that we're seeing. But I also, while we look at property tax increases or decreases, tell us your thoughts. And then what I'm going to do, Walker, is I'm going to come to you and we're going to discuss also locally some of the issues going on. And that's going to be more the internal governmental process on how cost housing is. So tell us on the property tax, because this is a hot issue. Everyone says, no more property taxes. Woohoo.
Right.
Yeah. But do people really understand what property taxes pay for?
Right. So obviously this has been a conversation that's been ongoing this past legislative session regarding property taxes. Right. And the reality is that while it might sound great, it's going to impact our ability to get the services we need in order to thrive and continue, living here locally when it comes to firefighters, police, all the services provided by our local governments.
Let's go for garbage pickup. Mosquito control. Storm drainage, and we know we've got drainage issues. Stop signs, speed limits, speed humps, animal services, medical services, mental health services. There's a whole lot. Parks. You want to go to a park, you want to walk on a trail. Your lakes.
Transit.
Lakes in Orange County are kept up by part of your tax dollars. Right. Transit.
Right. And that's something that is often not included in the conversation, which is there's a clear trade-off between not having to pay property taxes and the services you actually receive. Now, I think this conversation actually started because we have failed to deal with the issue of home insurance. Yeah. I bought a home 4 years ago, and every single year I actually have to find a new home insurance company because they kicked me out of the old one, right?
Yeah.
And that's a big issue that we have failed to address. I think if we address the home insurance crisis, that will provide some real relief to people, which they do deserve. But I also think, on the property tax situation, if you own a $10 million home, you probably should be paying taxes on that home. There has to be an opportunity for us to be more nuanced in the conversation, maybe find some solutions for our seniors, people on fixed incomes. But just to say we're going to go out and get rid of property taxes and then we're going to deal with the consequences, in my opinion, is extremely irresponsible.
Yeah. And you talk about homeowners insurance and car insurance, right? That's another one. I pay $4,000 every 6 months for car insurance. Granted, I have a 22-year-old. Okay. So I'll give you a little slack, but not $4,000 slack. And you're right. Homeowners insurance. We had to change our entire roof or no one was going to insure us. Even though we didn't have a problem with our roof, we had to spend $22,000 to change our roof or we were going to get dropped and no one was going to carry us. That's scary.
And often the home insurance doesn't even have to actually fix what they need to fix before they kick you out of the insurance. And then you're stuck with having to pay. Often when we're talking about homelessness, often people cannot afford to actually fix what they have to fix. And so they might fall back on their actual mortgage payment, right? Yeah. So it's a huge issue when it comes to actual housing affordability.
And that's what's important for you listeners who don't know this. So let's just say you say, well, I can't afford it, right? So I'm not going to get homeowners insurance. But if you have a mortgage, your mortgage company will actually make you. Mm-hmm. And usually, if they pick for you, it's not the best rate. Okay. Challenge anyone who's listening, challenge if your mortgage company picks your homeowners insurance company. You should get out there and find your own rates. We found out the hard way. We saved $2,000 a year by looking it up ourselves, right? So it's really important. And then you say, well, if you don't pay it, oh, well, no, because then guess what? You're behind on your mortgage rate. And then guess what happens after that? They can take your home. Yeah. So it's not one of those, if I can't afford it, I just can't pay. Now, Walker, we are talking about local issues, attainability crisis, housing crisis, financial crisis. Local government is a little bit different. So Samuel's in a position where he hopes to be a voice of reason, where he can get some legislation that will be pro the people.
Right.
But tell me what your thoughts are when you, and I'm doing this on purpose because I could just tell you, but I don't want to tell you because I think it's important for you to kind of have a vision of what you see your local government being a hurdle or an idea that you want to share.
Sure. So when it comes to single family homes in particular, we have 17% of our single family homes in Central Florida that are owned or in the hands of corporations.
Equities. Yep.
I think we could get that down to 10% through incentive programs, subsidizing first-time home buyers, other encouragement programs for people like myself who just simply can't afford to buy a home right now. I mean, the affordability crisis is outrageous in all fronts. But when it comes to me even thinking about trying to buy a home, I don't know where I would begin to save that kind of money. I'm an attorney and I still live paycheck to paycheck. So I don't think that we have the tools at our disposal right now, and we need to give those tools, particularly to the disenfranchised folks who have seen the historical zoning and loaning policies that have sort of pushed them out of certain neighborhoods. I think there's a point the county we can do studies. We can see who these folks are. I mean, in Apopka, for example, if you were a certain color, you weren't allowed to live below the rail line. And there are people living today who've still been affected by these policies. Look at Division Avenue, look at Pine Hills. There are a lot of, and these aren't exactly within District 3, but there are people in District 3 who've felt the effects of those as well. And right. I think the other hard part of it is we need to talk about our development. We are sprawling out to every single area that we can get into, going into our wetlands. If we build up instead of building out, and we require that more of these units in the actual new developments be affordable housing and not just the current legal definition of affordable housing where it goes up to $120,000. That's not affordable.
20%.
20%, sorry. But we should increase that percentage and have that be at least 30% of those units have to be affordable housing. And when I say affordable housing, we're talking under $75,000 a year, because that is difficult. You were talking about the firefighters. They've been negotiating their contract for a while now, and I believe they're still less than $60,000 on a base salary, and they're still on the 24-48 policy where they're 24 hours on, 48 hours off. So a firefighter still couldn't afford one of those high-priced, affordable housing units. And so we really should be looking at the median incomes of the people who live and work in our community and using that as a scale of what we in the community, or we in the county, consider to be affordable housing.
So as someone who's been in this role for 7 years, right?
Yeah.
We actually do have first-time home buyers assistance. The problem is it's still so expensive. It doesn't do much. It's $10,000. Right. So if you're buying a $400,000 home, that's not even enough for your deposit. And Let me just tell you, the county does not do a good job at announcing it. Right. Because it's actually, you don't have to do a lot to get it. We're talking like a 10-hour class.
Right? I learned about it like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Secondly, the problem we have with densification.
Right.
District 3, and this is good for you to know, we're one of the oldest areas of Orange County. Mm-hmm. Rio Pinar was built in the 50s. Taft was built in the 40s. Taft is the only place in Orange County where there's actually homes on the railroad track. That is illegal now because that's how we got freight, was through the train. So, but what happened? They didn't know about retention ponds and wetlands. And so what's happened now is when you build, you're required to have a runoff water area.
Right.
So when you go to densify an area that already floods and you densify it, where do you expect the water to go? And Mother Nature doesn't do well by reading engineering plans. Mother Nature does what Mother Nature does.
Exactly.
So, but what I think is we do have to be smart on how we do that. You can't just throw your hands up and say no, because there are little infill areas.
Right.
But I think
Like the Milk District, for example.
Our biggest dilemma we have as a county is our infrastructure is also very weak.
Yeah.
Okay. When they put it in there in the 60s and 70s, it was not at the level that you expect now and what is permitted and is legal by now. And guess what? That costs a lot of money to update. We just did an update in Rio Pinar, which is no longer in your district. It currently is in my district, but it will not be starting in 2026. But they had piping that was from the late 50s that went from big to small to big to small. And guess what happens? Water can't flow well.
Right.
So there's a lot more to it. But
I was actually walking Rio Pinar this week, and I saw the new system. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you actually look at the corner of Lake Underhill and Ikanalahachi, there is a brand new retention pond that I fought for to get put in because there was nowhere for the water to go.
And it was these areas, once we build in and build over those retention ponds, that's what happens is the floodwater comes into all these cities, and we just don't really long-term plan. I feel for the longest time we've been planning for what's going on like in the next 5 years, in the next 4 years. We're not planning 20, 30 years down the line. And if we had more long-term planning like that might help.
Well, we do. We actually do. So by legally, we have comp plans. The thing is, the 2050 plan was rejected by the state legislature.
Right.
Right.
And so what has happened is we've reverted to the back old plan. But yes, we did. You're required, and it's in the charter, to actually plan for the next 25 years.
I did know
So,
that.
and then lastly, let's talk about housing, okay? And I'm going to bring this up because I would love when an apartment complex comes in and says, I'm going to build 200 units, and I say, great, give me 60 units to attainable housing.
Right.
Guess what? They are required to leave that usually about 30 years, okay? Do you know what the average rate of return on an apartment complex is for an investor to get her money back?
Oh, it can't be that long. Yeah?
No, 4 years.
Yeah.
So am I going to be getting a little extra push to heaven by putting 30 years on my property, which means even if I sell it, the next buyer can't do anything with it?
Right.
Or am I going to do market rate and make my money back in 4 years? We have to do more to make that attractive for the developer.
Right.
How do we incentivize the developer? You actually can look at actually giving that tax break in the beginning when they're building, making them expedited through the process so it doesn't take 3 years to build this apartment complex, giving them a person, because I always tell people, and this is great for you to know as you're talking to people, developers are not nonprofits, right? They're in it for money, but we need them. It's one of those relationships. We need you and they need us, but they're going to make their profit. They're either going to make it in the beginning by getting a project built faster and not having to wait so long, or they're going to make it in the end on the consumer.
That's right.
And we've actually, without even realizing it, ruined it for the consumer, because to build a house or an apartment, you're talking 3 years.
Yeah.
So what happens? You bought the land, you're paying for it. You're getting impact fees.
Yeah.
You're waiting for permits. You got a designer, an architect. Then the county tells you, well, we don't like this and we like that and we don't like this and we don't like that. Yeah. And 3 years later, you're able to clear ground.
Right.
Okay. By the way, you've been paying and you know, business interest is a lot higher than a regular person. Mm-hmm. So they've accumulated millions of dollars.
And what do they have to show for it? Yeah.
Yes. But we did do something really awesome is Disney is doing their first affordable housing project. And I went in and advocated and said, can you try to advocate for, I call them not first responders, but essential workers, teachers, nurses, firemen, and policemen. Okay. These are people who are educated. They have solid careers and pretty much they can have a job for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not saying that we should not take care of other people, but start somewhere. So, but it's good to have these ideas. I mean, what do you see that you would love to see happen? And I'm talking to Samuel from the state when you get in. I mean, there's something like we always say, and I'm sure you feel this, and I'm like, man, my first 90 days and what's your first, session going to be like?
I will say on the housing front, we need to focus on home rule. The opportunities that are present here in Orange County are not going to be the same as the one in Lake County. And so I think the state government needs to get away from determining what's best for all of our communities and allow our local elected leaders to actually make those decisions. And in an issue like housing, I think if the county, the cities, the municipalities are given more leeway, they can actually step in and be able to lead a lot faster, build a lot faster where necessary, and determine what's best for them in the short and term and long term.
Right.
My number one issue, quite honestly, is going to be education. I think we have a huge education crisis that is happening in our communities. The voucher schools, I'm all for school choice, but the voucher schools are not to the same held up to the same standards as our public schools. That puts our public schools at a disadvantage, but it also hurts our students that are not getting the quality education they need and deserve in order to get ahead. So I actually think there's an opportunity to find bipartisan solutions to figure out how we create more of a standard that is both for the public schools, but also the charter schools, the private schools, so that all students are actually able to get that education they need. That's a huge issue for me, especially for my first legislative session.
Yeah, and you're a product of public education. Right. So am I. Are you too?
I am as well, okay. Yeah.
And I think what's really important, though, what Samuel is saying, is that one thing that I don't think they realize when they give the vouchers is how many parents are going to keep their kids at home.
That's right.
Yep.
And teach them themselves. Now,
homeschool.
As someone who has an 8-year-old boy, it's hard enough for me to even do homework. I could not imagine keeping my son all day. You don't get any interactive skills, socially with their peers. And secondly, we're just handing over parents $9,000 and saying, we trust that you're going to educate your child. And we have no regulations over it. And that is a very important issue. And let's be honest, it makes it harder for people who rely on public education too. Not all of us have the ability to make that choice. But those are very exciting, and I think you're going to build a lot of momentum with that. Walker, for you, and guys, as you're listening, we are getting past the issues because we're going to turn this around and make it a little fun. But Walker, tell me, County Commissioner, what's the first thing you get excited about doing if you get elected?
So the first thing that I get excited about is what we've seen people most excited about on the campaign trail, the trying to get ICE off our streets and returning the power to our local law enforcement to be the community police and to have our law enforcement really be people that live in our community. So getting us out of the IGSA is one of the big battles that I would like to focus on our first 90 days. And then working with fellow commissioners to have a plan in place for the inevitable, letter that we receive that says you're not giving your best efforts, so that we have an injunction ready. Because if Ron DeSantis or whoever his successor is comes in and says he's going to remove us for trying to do right by our constituents or threaten to throw us in jail for doing our jobs, we have to have a plan for that. And an injunction has to be ruled on by a judge within 15 days. That's something we could easily type up in advance and say, look, you're not removing me for dereliction of duty. You're not removing me for neglect. You're not removing me for failing to do my job. You're removing me because you disagree with my policy choice. And that's not right. That's not how the removal power is supposed to work. And it fundamentally undermines our democracy. And so I think every time I tell somebody I'm campaigning to get ICE off our streets and to return power to local law enforcement, they'll stop me right there and say, okay, I'll sign to get you on the ballot. And I'll still tell them the rest of our issues while they're signing. But I'm very motivated to jump into that fight. And I think that's where the county has a lot of power because we don't have to be in that agreement.
And what's interesting about this issue, though, is that a lot of what the counties and municipalities are seeing across the state is actually the result of laws that were passed in the legislature in Tallahassee.
Right.
And actually, that's one of the reasons why I'm running, because I think what the legislature has done is that they have basically deputized all of our police force across the state to do immigration enforcement, which they're not trained to do, which quite honestly makes us less safe because people report less crime because they're afraid that their families are going to be taken. But quite honestly, I think there's a huge opportunity to make change when it comes to, focusing on this issue at the legislative level in Tallahassee. If you don't like the fact that a lot of these folks are being picked up in a way that is not in accordance to our law, to our Constitution, we need to elect new legislators, because that they're making the problem worse when they pass laws and mandate and dictate what our county commissioners, what our municipalities can and cannot do on this issue.
That's true. And go ahead.
I was going to say the county did show a remarkable resilience recently when they acknowledged and said that we
signed a moratorium.
They signed, well, not just signing the moratorium, but acknowledging that people were being held in the jail because ICE wasn't coming to pick them up on time, longer than 72 hours, bringing them back. We said we're going to stop that policy, and we have seen a drop in the population in 33rd. And I've gone in there and I've talked to people who've been in there. These aren't people who have committed serious crimes. It's like, well, I made a wrong turn, or my light was out.
We actually have a list, and you're welcome to get it, where actually there's no crimes.
Yeah.
So it's no crimes.
There's no crime at all.
But alleged. I mean, we've done that, and IGSA will actually be coming up way before you get into
perfect.
office. So it'll be coming up in April. So,
so stay tuned.
But the moratorium that we did, that we are not going to support any kind of permitting application. But the city of Orlando said they weren't going to step in at all.
Yeah, they said they had no power, which doesn't make sense because as Samuel was alluding to, we do have home rule and the things that are within the city's power, and that's more of a county thing. But when it comes to local acts, the federal government is not supreme in that regard. The supremacy clause only applies to things that affect interstate commerce. When it's truly intrastate, when it's intra-county, when it doesn't leave the Orange County borders, that's not federal. So the supremacy clause does not apply to those rules.
But the reality is they haven't even put in an application. The only property they've been looking at is the ones in the city, and
that's true.
Nobody has heard anything yet. But anyways, we've talked a lot of policy, a lot of news, a lot of hot topics. I think you need to get to know a little bit more of these candidates. And so we're going to start off with Samuel. Okay, so I call it the hot seat, Samuel. Yes. So, Samuel, you're, 30 now?
29.
29. He's going to be 30 this year. In 2026 or 2027?
Well, I'm turning 29 on Wednesday.
Okay, so he's going to be 29. So he is still in his 20s. He's still a baby. So, and he's a homeowner, which is pretty impressive because I don't know if you know this, not to be a downer, average first-time home buyer is 41 years old in this country. So he's the exception, not the norm. But tell us, for fun, okay, none of us are having a lot of fun right now because we're focused. We're very focused, right?
Speak for yourself. No, I'm kidding.
I'm very focused. So tell me, for fun, would you rather go dancing or stay at home and watch a Hallmark movie? And I only say that because I love Hallmark movies.
Stay at home and watch a horror movie.
Oh, a horror movie. What's your favorite horror movie?
We've been rewatching the Scream movies.
No way.
So I'm up to the 7th one, and it's been pretty cool.
How many are there?
7.
Oh my gosh.
The 7th one just came out. It's kind of interesting to see over the years because it started in the 90s, how everything has changed in the movie industry and how things are a lot cooler now.
Yeah. Now, so you like to watch movies, but do you like, if I tell you, Samuel, you're going to get 4 hours off, will you work, will you go have fun, or will you take a nap?
I don't take naps, so that wouldn't be an option. I'll probably watch, I'm a big soccer fan. People don't know that. I'm a big FC Barcelona fan.
Okay.
And I don't get to see their games too often anymore. So I'll probably watch some of the replays, or if there's a game, definitely watch that.
Okay. That's cool. You get to know Samuel a little bit. And by the way, one last thing. What's your favorite food? And it don't come up with a Venezuelan plate, okay? No. Let's be real. What is a hot fudge sundae, whatever.
Mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese?
I love mac
baked
and cheese.
Or just all swirled up?
All types. I actually like to try different types of mac and cheese. It's probably not too good for my stomach, but I still eat mac and cheese.
All right. So you guys got to see a little bit of Samuel. If you want to get to his heart, get him some mac and cheese and not just to type in the box. Put some effort into it. Walker. All right. So you're a lot of times a one-man show. You really are very focused. You're running. You've got your mission. When you are down and you need a picker-upper, do you listen to music? Do you watch a movie, or do you call a friend?
So usually I'll call a friend. Actually, I do like to stay at home and watch me some anime.
Okay.
I'm a big anime fan, but if I'm down, if I need to pick me up, I'm calling my friends. I got a core group of friends, and as I'm getting into my 30s, I'm realizing that that old metaphor about you'd rather have 4 quarters than 100 pennies, and I have my core friend group who are always there to pick me up, and then we'll go out to Linda's and eat a good steak.
Oh, Linda's Cantina. And this is not a shameless plug, but it is an awesome piece of steak. Now, I will like to say there is a new restaurant on iDrive called Bai's. It's an Argentinian restaurant, one of the first in Orange County. It's basically in the parking garage of Mango's.
Okay.
They just opened 10 days ago, and I've already been twice. Okay. Now, you all know my mom's from Argentina, so I love a great steak. So I'm a great steak person. So you got to try it out. But Linda's Cantina, close second.
Myra,
Close second.
I got a question for everybody.
Uh-oh.
You're going to be in the hot seat today, too.
Okay.
All right. So this is for everyone here. I've got a list of questions here, but I also got a list of questions in my headspace here. All right. My first question, and I always tend to throw people off with this one, too. All right. You have two options here, okay? Would you rather speak every language in the world or be able to play every instrument in the world?
I got this.
Go.
Speak every language all day, every day. I'm not. My rhythm
that's
is
it.
off.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Play every instrument.
Speak every language.
Okay.
Yeah. You got another one?
Yeah. All right. So what is the most interesting and ridiculous thing that you believed as a child? So I'll give you mine real quick just to kind of let you think. My sister lied to me and told me the sound from the ice cream guy meant he was out of ice cream.
Oh, I've done that to my son. Okay. He's not listening right now. Samuel, what's the biggest lie that you were told? When you guys hear mine, you're going to be like, really? But go ahead.
So I grew up in Venezuela, and in Venezuela we don't have Santa. We have
Raise
Jesus
Max.
Kid.
Oh, Jesus.
The El Niño Jesus, what they
Okay.
call it. But then on the movies you will watch like Santa. So I remember as a kid thinking, how does this baby Jesus actually drop off all the toys before during Christmas, so that all the other kids actually, enjoy their Christmas? And then I will watch the movies and they'll talk about Santa Claus, and I'm like, what's the difference here?
Wow.
No,
Walker.
mine was that it was illegal to be out after dark. That if you were out late at night, the police would come and get you. So you have to come home and you have to be in bed with the door closed before dark. So that was my big one.
Mine was ridiculous, and my dad tortured me with this. But have you guys ever been to Gatorland?
Yes.
Okay, so you know how they have the big gator? Now it's on the side, so it's not. But when I was a kid, after the hurricane, they had to move it. My dad used to say that if I went through the mouth, that they'd eat me. And there's a picture of me that my dad has where he's laughing and I'm crying. So I actually believe that. And I tell my kids now, and they're like, really? You didn't know that was a building? No, I didn't know. I was an impressionable 6-year-old, okay? So one last round as we wrap this up. When I'm going to have you look at the camera, Walker, okay? And you're going to be looking at your constituents and the people who live in District 3. If we can tune in right into Walker. Walker, tell us why you think you'll be the next best commissioner for District 3.
I know I'll be the next best commissioner for District 3 because I am empathetic and I will listen to every constituent. I will make the time to have your needs heard, and I will make the effort to implement policies that you want to see to better all of us, to raise all the tides, because rights are not a pie. And when one of us is pushed down, all of us are pushed down. So I'll bring back that sense of community, and together we will be a stronger District 3.
All righty. Samuel, you're looking at the camera, and you're talking to that voter at the door. Tell us why they should be voting for you.
I grew up in this community. I went to middle school in this community, high school in this community. When I graduated, I came back. My parents live here. I bought a house here 4 years ago. And I actually think I can bring the voices of our people to Tallahassee and make sure that I'm always listening to your real concerns, making sure that our state government is addressing those instead of creating new issues, and continue fighting to make sure that we have a great future for all of us here in Florida.
And you hear from like-minded folks here. I think one thing you can tell from both of these individuals and everyone we've had on the show, it's about the people in this county. It's about the people in this community. And it's letting people know that we see you, we hear you, and we serve you. And I'll wrap up. I'm running for Orange County mayor because I think it's time we put people first. I want to be the people's mayors. I'm sure every person who's been in these chairs believes and thinks of the people when they wake up and when they go to bed. And the fight and the sacrifice we do is to serve you, to give you dignity, empathy, and to know you have someone in your corner. I'm Mayra Uribe, your current County Commissioner, District 3. I was here with Samuel Vilchez Santiago, House District 43 candidate, and Walker Smith, candidate for Orange County Commission, District 3. We thank you both for being here. Thank you all for listening. And make sure, out of all you hear, go out and vote. August 18th is the primary.
Wait.
Uh-oh.
Kevin says wait,
Okay.
because we're not done.
Oh, no. Nothing's good when you have a little bit of Kevin.
Yeah. So what's up, Kevin? Go ahead. Your mic's on.
You got 10 minutes.
He said we got some more time.
Okay.
So
all right.
why not? All
All
right.
right.
So all right, I'm gonna ask you guys. I'm a big foodie here, right? And sometimes when I look in the fridge, there's some things that have been there for a very long time. What's the oldest item you have in your fridge right now?
That's a good
Samuel,
question.
go.
Probably some chicken I bought like 2 years ago that I have to throw out.
Oh, I feel
He's
better.
being real. He's being real.
I feel better. I thought I was bad. I got some Chinese fried rice from maybe almost over a month ago that I haven't thrown out yet.
This one's frozen.
Oh, mine is not.
Okay. And I want to say, and I don't want Kevin to blast me, but there are things in my freezer that have been there probably circuit 2023, maybe. You know, I'm not one of a cook, and all of our lives are so busy.
Oh.
You know, we're lucky that there's anything in the fridge, and then that anything isn't spoiled in the fridge. But let's see. I have a question. All right, so I'm going to take over this next series because we're going to make it fun.
All right.
What's your favorite type of music to listen to, Samuel?
Reggaeton.
No. Who's your favorite artist?
Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny?
Yes, I'm a big Bad Bunny fan.
Are you one of those that just watched the Super Bowl for him?
Yes.
Okay. Walker.
I'm a J. Cole fan. I know he may have had to bow out of this beef with Kendrick, but listen, I like that album that he came out with, the Might Delete Later. He did delete it later, but it was still a good album, all right?
All right. To me, it's hard. I've developed playlists now. My daughter got me into Apple Music, and I have a country music playlist. I have a Taylor Swift playlist. Everyone knows I'm a Tay-Tay, okay? So there's no hiding that. But then I actually created a political playlist.
Oh,
and
nice.
it's all great songs that I've heard from presidential candidates and gubernatorial candidates since I was in high school. And a lot of great songs. But I'm all over the place. My playlist makes no sense. So I don't know about you guys.
What's
And
your
then-
favorite political song?
Ooh, jeez. Of course you would ask me that. Kevin, what's my favorite political song?
I mean, can any song be a political song?
Yeah. Don't Stop Thinking About Tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I think I give that homage to Bill Clinton, you know. So, and then for you, are you going to have a cup of coffee or an alcoholic beverage, Samuel?
I don't drink coffee, which is crazy to say. So I'll
Yes.
say an alcoholic beverage.
Okay. Walker?
A Coke Zero, preferable.
Coke Zero.
Bad hearts in the family. I also don't drink coffee, so I'm sticking with an alcoholic beverage, a Long Island or a margarita.
Wow.
Margarita's good.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, they say. And for me, I actually don't drink soda or alcohol, and I drink 1 cup of coffee a day and about 10 cups of water. So mine's going to be, I do splurge on Keurigs. If you go into mine, I have every flavor that I'm in the mood for, and I like to buy good creamer. Phil, Kevin, you guys have anything to throw at us?
I got another one here.
Uh-oh.
Right. Okay. All right. So let's say you are the emperor and you have the power to create a holiday. Okay.
No Cane's Day.
All right. If you had the power to create a completely new holiday, A, what would it celebrate? And B, how would people observe it?
Walker,
Oh, shoot.
because I put Samuel on the hot seat way too many times.
Yeah, if I had a holiday, honestly, can we make voting a holiday? I would love to have a voting holiday that celebrates civic education and get people engaged and plugged in, and gives them the day off so that it's not so hard to get out and vote. I think that's what I would. Although if I'm emperor, I don't know if we're still voting, right?
Samuel.
I think we should move President's Day to the day after the Super Bowl. So that will be the thing I will move.
That would, for me, geez, that's a tough one. I like the voter day, but I'm kind of old school. I really love Christmas. I'm a Christmas junkie. I love that day waking up.
Christmas week.
Christmas week, because
love that.
there's just so much joy. It's cozy, and it's just it doesn't have a lot of noise.
Right.
It's just happiness. And I think right now we really lack on happiness. And I worry a lot about our young people. They see and experience and hear things that I could never imagine at that age dealing with. And I worry about technology. While it's great for some things, our young people are losing the ability to interact, communicate, and be human. So I think Christmas kind of brings it back down. And you guys got one more for us as we wrap up?
I mean, I think that's a perfect end right there.
Oh, yeah. Well, guys, this is it. We did another one, Focus, with you all. And thank you both for being here. Thank you for making time. Every moment, every day is about getting out there. And as you say goodbye to the camera in front of you, we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Tune in. Don't forget to vote.
Don't forget to vote.
Don't forget to vote.